Hi, this is Sherron, the Modern Savvy CPA, and we are starting our series on bad money habits that small businesses have. And we are going to go through some of the things that we tend to do and why we shouldn't be doing it and how we solve the issue of changing our bad money habits into smart money habits. So the first topic that we are going to cover today, we summarized it last week, and this week we are covering we're going to dig deep into all the topics. So the first topic that we are covering that's probably going to be having a snowball effect with all the topics that we're going to be talking about when it comes to small businesses' bad money habits. So the first one is not keeping good records, not having good reporting, and not keeping good records. Business owners need to create reports and keep receipts and making sure that they're using the proper systems in order for them to be using good records. And one of the things that good records bring in is good books. So if your records are good and you have the right bookkeeper, your books should be good, and you're going to be able to utilize your books for so many things. And we're going to go over all of those things today and this week. So our first thing is we need to talk about is, what are the different ways that businesses keep books? So, you want to make sure that, years ago, when I first started in accounting and I used to do bookkeeping for a real estate office in the 1980s or late 80s, early 90s, everything was done by hand. I used to be reconciling by hand the checks, checking the checks. There was no automated payments in those days. There was no online banking, none of that. It used to take a long time to get these things done. Today we have much faster, much easier automated system. And I'll tell you this several times today, that if you're not using an automated system to work on your books, then you're probably spending way too much time yourself, or your bookkeeper spending way too much time working on this. So you definitely want to think about it. It's 2023, and you need to be looking at an automated system. You need to have a system that works for you, that will be able to produce financial statements, will be able to produce subledger reports like accounts payable, accounts receivable, inventory reports. You want to be able to reconcile your banks within it. So that's all the things that you need for in an automated system. That's part of the things you need for an automated system. You want to be able to, accurate reporting is crucial, because you just don't want to data input your information in there, and then when it comes time to do your tax return, that's when you're worried about your numbers. You need to be working on your numbers constantly. You need to be knowledgeable about your numbers. You need to understand your numbers. That's also one of the things that I'm going to be reporting today. So it's not just what's required on your state, local, and federal taxing authority. It's also what's required depending on what type of business you are and what you're looking forward to doing. So, and we're also going to go over some of those things that you might potentially be looking forward to doing later on in our series. So we have a couple of different topics when it comes to these bad money habits that small businesses have, and we're definitely going to be going over them so you can understand, why it is so important for your records to be kept properly, and what are these bad money habits, and all of them circle back to what your books look like, in one way or another. Some more than others, but in one way or another. So you want to be able to shift your focus, and you want to be able to look at, there's many disadvantages of having inaccurate books. So we want to make sure that we explore those disadvantages and how you can solve those problems. One of the disadvantages is penalties that you might be charged if you're not keeping accurate books. For example, if your payroll is not done properly, then, if you don't have a company doing your payroll, a bookkeeper doing your payroll, then, and it's inaccurate, then you might be filing inaccurate payroll returns. And if your payroll returns are inaccurate, if you're withholding from your employees, that is one of the most penalized area in tax. Payroll returns, payroll penalties are one of the most penalized place in tax. So if your information is not accurate, you cannot have proper payroll returns and you cannot have proper accurate reports with your payroll, then that is like, it's downhill from there. So, and then if you're filing these returns late or the information is incorrect, you have to remember when you're doing payroll, you have employees and you're withholding tax for them. That's not your money. You withhold this tax, this payroll tax, and you have to remit it to the government. When you're remitting this tax to the government, you're just holding it. It is not your money. So you need to make sure you're withholding the right amount and you're remitting the right amount to the government. If you're not doing that and you're holding on to your employees' money inaccurately because you have inaccurate books, that's going to be a problem. And that is where the fines come in and the penalties come in, and you have issues because of inaccurate books. So you want to make sure that you have that correctly. It also flows into your annual tax return. So that number is also important because on your annual tax return, you have to report your total payroll for the year. If those numbers are inaccurate, it could affect many things within your overall tax return. It affects a lot of the business credits that we're used to having. And you need to make sure that those numbers are correct before you're getting the maximum on your business credits. You know, it also affects your operating. How can you make financial decisions if you don't have a sound financial system where you can accurately get your reports monthly, quarterly, semi-annually? How will you understand your cash flow? How will you understand what you can afford and what you can't afford? How will you understand what certain, if you're putting in certain money somewhere, is that giving you what you expect to get back? So that's also another thing that you need to look at. So you also want to be able to look at, you might have difficulty getting finance. Your banks are going to ask you for the books. Sometimes they want it to be audit or review. So you want to make sure that you're looking at that. You know, we're going to talk about later on in this series, we're going to bring on a business broker that's going to talk about exit strategy and when do you need to start planning for exit strategy. Believe it or not, exit strategy planning should be started when you start your business. So you want to make sure that your books are accurately flowing if you want to sell your business. You don't, like I told you before, you definitely don't want to miss out on tax deductions. So if your payroll is not reported properly and your income is not reported properly, one of the biggest deductions that small business have now is their Section 199 deduction for taxes. It's a small business deduction. And if your payroll and your income is not reported properly, that will affect your deduction, and that could be big. I've seen it be big. So you want to make sure that these are things that you might not notice or you might not see, but it's in there. It's things that you need to be aware of that it could affect you. The other thing, like we talked about, mismanaging your employee expense. You want to make sure that you're reporting stuff accurately when it comes to your payroll and having precise payroll and paying your employees on time, making sure your time is accurate that you're reporting. So you definitely want to do that. So, like I said, again, the other thing is difficulty preparing your tax returns. The accountant or your tax preparer might take a long time to prepare your returns because all your numbers don't match, they don't tie. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost you more if it's going to take longer. So you want to make sure that if your books are in order and everything is in place, the tax preparation time is cut down enormously. So you want to make sure that you spend that money on tax planning and bookkeeping before you have to spend it at tax preparer's time where your books is all a mess. So, the other things that you want to make sure when you're keeping good books is accounts receivable and payable. If your books are in order, then, your clients are, if you make a mistake and you say that you won't know if your client has paid you or not because you've cleared an accounts receivable, or you might not have a bill there because, and you haven't paid the bill, you miss paying the bill because of that. So you want to be able to stay on top of your bookkeeping. You know, you want to make, you know, all these disadvantages are totally will hamper your business because you might be a high revenue business, multi-million-dollar business revenue, $1 million business revenue. But if you are not a high profitability business, then you are not focused on the right thing. Yes, it's important. Most people, most clients, most business owners are really good at what they do. So they might be making a lot of money. Their gross revenue is a lot. They're making a lot of money. But if their profitability is not on that same level or higher, then what's the purpose of having that business? You know, it's like bringing in, it's all those six-figure earners that make 6 figures and they don't have anything left at the end. They're still broke. They live paycheck to paycheck. So you don't want to be a business that's living paycheck to paycheck. You want to be able to have the right cash flow, and you want to be able to have a high profitability margin, net profitability margin, that you are able to show that that's the real success of your business. The other thing that's important to me, and that I think is important when you're keeping good books, is having a good software to keep your books. In today's society, there is no reason to not use an automated system. These automated systems like QuickBooks and other things are able to track your books properly. Now you can attach your invoices in there. You can attach your bank statements in there. You can attach receipts to your credit card system. You can do all these things where everything is kept within your accounting system. You don't even have to have a separate document management system that's totally for your records. So it helps you to stay organized with your financial records and making sure that, you know, you're not missing out on anything, you know, that you're keeping accurate and you know, understandably, it used to be time consuming to get all of this stuff together. But one thing that you need to see the importance of this, and you need to allocate certain times to work on this. You need to make sure you're hiring the right people to help you with this. So that's the thing. That's the main thing. As I always say, and I've said this to someone already, that, you know, you as a business owner, you know, let's say you own a farm and you're out there and, you know, you need to oversee everything. You as a business owner is great at the business that you're doing. That is why you're in that business. You like it. You like what you're doing. You're educated about that. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to be doing finances. You don't want to be in charge of that. You don't want to be doing that all of the time. But you do need to understand the process. You need to understand how to look at your reports. You need to understand what you need to be asking. You need to understand the importance of your bookkeeper and the importance of having a trusted advisor relationship with your bookkeeper, accountant, and your tax advisor, and for them to teach you. So it is a process. Bookkeeping, you know, can be taught to you that you understand your overall things with bookkeeping. You need to understand the overall. Like I've told one of my clients, I said, you only need to have a little bit of mud on your boots when it comes to finances of your business. You don't need to be knee deep in the mud. That's why you hire the right people to help you with your books. But you need to understand how to use your books to your advantage. You don't need to be there sitting and entering your stuff. You need to understand what is the important information you need to get to your bookkeeper, your accountant, or your advisor to make sure that you're keeping proper books. And you need to be able to understand how to read your number picture, because when you have these numbers, it's a picture. And once all of the numbers come together, you will see how many different pictures you can look at to, number one, help you to be compliant tax-wise and help you to manage your business, help you to understand what you're spending and if it's the right thing you're spending your money on, and maximize your profitability. So this is part of the journey. This is the continuation of the journey, and you always want to be working on this. Your books is something that's ongoing. It's like your stuff that you pay monthly in your household. You always have to be reassessing what you're spending your money on. Is it the right thing for the right time? Because the right thing when you started your business and you spent your money on it might not be what you should be spending on it later. It might have changed. Like for example, for me, I'm a finance nerd. I'm an accountant nerd. I am a bookkeeper nerd. I love numbers, talking about numbers, teaching anybody that will listen to numbers. When it comes to social media, I am praying for the day that when I'm able to afford a full social media team that's going to take care of all my social media, because I have no idea, and that is not what I want to do. So all of us want to do what we love, but we have to understand the importance of all the other things that make up our business. And your books, your finances, your reports, your number picture is really important. So this is the first video that we're doing and concentrating on bookkeeping. And then our next video is I'm going to have a guest, and she's going to be the bookkeeper that I've been working with for the last 5 to 6 years. And she's going to go over a few important things that she has seen with companies that we need to talk about when it comes to bookkeeping. Thank you. This is Sherron, the Modern Savvy CPA. Remember to like and share my videos.